Welcome to the Fit Affiliate Podcast, where with honesty and transparency, we talk about all things fitness, coaching, and gym ownership, so that you can feel less crazy and frustrated and alone, while you also find more freedom and make more money.
And welcome back to another episode of the Fit Affiliate Podcast. And today I'm excited to have Derek Smith from CrossFit Ballina, aka Deka. How you going, mate?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. Now, I've known you for a while through our time judging at various regionals and sanctional events. And so we've had a bit of a journey through there. So I thought it was a good chance to get you on today to chat about your experience in coaching. And I know that you made a really big move to go from Gladstone down to start working at CrossFit Ballina.
Yep.
So just a chance to learn a little bit about your experience in CrossFit and get some of your perspectives on CrossFit in general. So thanks for being here. So tell us a little bit about how you found CrossFit and when you found it.
So I actually found it in 2012 purely by chance. I was sitting in a dentist, believe it or not, and there was an ad in there for one of the Commando Fit boot camps. So Steve Willis, he was running those in Binnaburra on the Gold Coast.
Yep. And
then I jumped online and did a bit more research, and he's talked about the foundation of how he ran those boot camps with CrossFit as the underlying use, since he had been a games level athlete himself. So I thought, damn, I better start doing a little bit more about this, and looked up and found CrossFit Gladstone had only been open for a few months way back then, and joined and got started, and just loved it, especially the variability of it, like coming from an AFL background, just the idea of starting a workout and finishing it and everything else that happens in between is different. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny. I found CrossFit through reading his book, his autobiography that he did, No Excuses, and he was talking about it. And I was with a personal trainer at the time. I was like, this CrossFit thing, this sounds interesting. And he's like, okay, sure, whatever. And then I found a local one as well. I started about 2011, so just pipped you at the post. But I think it was Steve who started it for a lot of people here in Australia.
Yeah,
at the start. So once you started and you drank the Kool-Aid and you're all in, what led you on your as we all did, you've got the shoes and the knee sleeves and the wrist wraps and everything else. What led you on your journey towards wanting to coach? Is coaching something you've done, like you just mentioned, an AFL background? Is that something you've done previously, or you're just drawn to that?
I had coached AFL in my mid-20s and then into my early 30s at a couple of different goes. And I sort of found, I think, that it's just something that I enjoy doing. Was, my personality sort of just leads to, working with people and going from there. And I'd been in major industry. That was my background in CrossFit, and then doing a little bit of coaching was more of a hobby thing for us. And my partner and I, Kathy, we've got our daughter Maddie, and we always sort of said that we would leave where we were in central Queensland once Maddie finished school. But we never wound up doing that. We just got stuck there in the bubble, both in really good jobs and everything else. And then, in 2016, I actually got made redundant in the middle of the year for the job that I was doing. And, and then the job came up purely in the Australian CrossFitters page on Facebook here at Ballina, and then contacted Lindsay and Erin after having a chat with my partner, and we're like, what's the worst thing that can happen is they say no, and come down, did 2-week trial, and December of 2016 I started, and here I am 5.5, almost 6 years later.
Wow, it feels just like yesterday. I remember that you were starting down there, and I thought that's a really big move to, up sticks to go and just pursue a coaching career basically full time. So that's a pretty big thing, and not many coaches have that opportunity, but B are ready to take that leap, I guess.
No, I mean, it was, a massive step for sure. My personality sort of lends me, like to be okay with change and everything else, and move along. Whereas, my partner and my daughter, they wound up staying back in central Queensland until essentially September of the following year, while we went through that process of either myself settling into the work that I was doing, and then, how we'd put the house on the market and transition and bring, both Kath and Maddie down here. And it was, Yeah, it was a process of either me flying back and spending at least one weekend a month there, or them coming down to here and then just trying to essentially develop a base for which we could, transition through. So it had some challenges and everything else, but along the way, we worked through it, and it was, it was great.
And clearly the opportunity at Ballina with, Lindsay and Erin, and, some of our viewers, listeners will be familiar that Lindsay Vaughan is the owner with her husband, Erin, and knowing her from regionals and games appearances and her, her high profile. But clearly that's been an opportunity to work with them that's been very worthwhile for you, for your development, but being able to sustain a life with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting, when I first applied for the job and had a look around and everything, even though that I've been doing some judging from a period of time and everything, being honest, Lindsay's name was not really that familiar to us.
Right.
And everything else. So I did the reading and everything else on their actual website around where we were. And and just, it sort of, as we said, we built the relationship there across a few Zoom meetings, or, before, heading down. So
yeah, fantastic. And it's great to see an affiliate that is creating opportunities for people to be full-time coaches rather than, hobbyists and coach 2 or 3 classes around a day job. And that provides a lot of security and development opportunities as well, which is what, we should all strive to be doing for our coaches and through the affiliates largely. But it's pretty rare here in Australia, I think, at the, to have career coaches, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging, especially in the first few years. I mean, the process is, as a coach or a trainer within the gym, that, you solely become responsible for a group of, members within that facility, so here, I think at the moment it's just around 250 members of that.
Wow.
Of the actual gym, I'm primarily responsible for around 75 of those people.
Yep.
So that's where, the actual full-time work comes into it. So it's not just actual, coaching on the floor. There's, working through personal training. There's member retention. There you're, responsible for your own, essentially, time. So I've got a lot of autonomy in the way that I actually work my hours, which is, fantastic.
Yep.
And then from there, you just, really making sure that you're continually trying to touch bases with members, because as happens, some people are either morning trainers or afternoon, and then there's times when, I could be coaching in the morning, but I don't see that member for a couple of days, or whatever. So, yeah, you do a lot of outside hours work, just staying in touch with people, and
yeah, and to have I guess a group or a member load of 75 is fairly significant as well. Most affiliates are running between 75 and 100 members for an entire affiliate, rather than, this is your allocation of people to look after. So that's, you've almost got a mini affiliate there. So that's really awesome. And I like the way they've, split that up, because clearly with that many members, Lindsay and Erin can't touch base with everybody all the time. So it's really important to get that balance right with that. So what's your vision for your, where would you like to see your coaching take you? And how are you sort of tracking towards that, your goals as a coach, and how you want to develop?
So for me, it's obviously just, building my knowledge base and in my experience along the way, just always being open, to learning, even, from everybody within our own team, and then from people outside. We spent the last weekend on Saturday and Sunday working with Anthony Lowe, the physio detective here. Yeah, so it was just, a great 2 days of something outside of the norm, from your normal CrossFit, whether it's gymnastics courses or your weightlifting courses and stuff like that. But just, moving and learning around, more human anatomy, and actually understanding how our body works and the variables between one person and then the variabilities within their own body. And getting to work with people outside the framework. My vision is as part of that is then, to continue to essentially, hold on to and develop that, membership base currently within this gym that, facilitates what it has, what I've got to in the last 5.5 years, because it is a long process. Like for somebody that steps into full-time coaching into a gig like this, definitely it's a long, hard process for the first probably 3.5 years, maybe getting towards 4 years, where you're working on essentially, member retention and keeping people engaged and keeping people challenged. And then within that, you've got a small churn rate of people that come in, have a go, that, for whatever reasons they leave, and then somebody else wants to come in and get started. So, you can't just solely focus on the new people coming and going. You've really got to put a lot of hard work. So, I think for me currently at this next point is, for the next 12 months is just continuing to cement and build that in for, sustainability for the next 12 months. It will get you up towards 7 years of working as a full-time coach.
Yeah, which is outstanding. That's, really, really huge. And apart from long-term affiliate owners, there's not too many coaches who work in a box that would be able to claim that sort of longevity for sure as a full-time role. So coaching, you've been exposed to, a lot of different people, a lot of different experiences. What would you say has been your biggest challenge in developing as a coach or in your coaching journey so far?
So for me, I enjoy good jokes. Sometimes I know my sarcasm gets in the way a little bit, but then also I know that, especially in my early years, like the military style approach that people associate to me, even though I've never been in the military. So it could be related to tone, posture and stuff like that, is that, it's really trying to step back from those. That's my default behavior.
Yep.
And actually learning to work with people and to talk in a more open approach and everything from where they don't actually feel threatened by me. And that, so, and I've definitely had some tough conversations along the way for sure. Whether that be, working with, Lindsay and Aaron, or whether it's come from the honesty of a member being able to step outside of a class zone and have a one-on-one personal chat around things. So it's definitely a big thing for us. And probably one of the other things that helped the most, I think, is it's almost 2 years ago since as a coaching team we did the mental health first aid course.
Yep.
So what that really did for us as a gym and as a bunch of coaches is once we start having conversations with people, it was like, whoa, hang on a minute, is how many people that, potentially have something else going on outside of the life of the gym that you don't take the time to recognize when they first walk in the door.
Yep.
So it was.
It does take some time to build that relationship where they're comfortable to, divulge that and, have those, when you can get to the point with your members and you can have those deeper conversations, it can be really powerful once you get comfortable with it and, see the value in that. And that's a really good path to take with people as well. In trying to find out, just a little bit more below the surface, I guess, rather than what they come in and say the reason that they're there for. There's always something else underneath that.
Yeah. So we do that for personally myself, I do that now with every introductory session we do. So whether a member comes to us from another gym or they've just been a gym person, at a normal everyday gym, or, somebody that's never done anything, like during that introductory session, I just broach the subject and just throw it out there and then move on and leave it. So there's no way that person hopefully feels threatened or they don't feel uncomfortable, but they recognize that as a group of trainers that, we're here to help them.
Yep.
And sometimes that'll open up a conversation straight away. Other times it'll be 2 or 3 sessions down the track where things sort of start coming out.
Yeah, fantastic. And there's so much that needs to be done around that, mental health landscape. I know when I have members come and join and they fill out the waiver and, are you on any medication? And 90% of them will put, Lexapro, Zoloft, some sort of antidepressant, and they're like, and they feel sort of funny about that. Like, dude, there's probably 90% of the people here taking those, me included at times. So it's nothing to feel ashamed about or awkward about. It's just, it's just part of balancing out your life a little bit and, dealing with those things. And, anxiety is such a huge thing. I would say that there would be easily 80% of my members struggle with some form of anxiety, even those that don't necessarily know that. And you see that reflected in different ways. The beauty of the CrossFit workout is it really strips you back to your bare bones and you really see who people are in the bottom of a deep, dark pain cave workout, and you start to see some of the things that might cause them to trip up or break down, or even, where their standards are held. It's really a powerful process.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for some of those people too, like extending on what you're saying, that happens the moment either they walk in the door and they see the workout for the first time because they haven't looked, and then they, the look on their face just changes or whatever. So it's trying to make sure you read that language and then just walk over and like, how you do, how you doing today? How can we help you, feel like you're going to get a good workout today, and then just, leave in a better mindset. So
yeah, and I think that's, like I know I've definitely changed my approach at my affiliate around, hey, we're doing a max today, but you don't need to go for a max. If you're not feeling it, you're had a bad day, dogs, cats, kids, whatever, bosses, just do fives. Just do sets, get stronger. Fitness will still be achieved.
Yeah.
But, it's not just here's what we're doing today and everyone's going to do that. And regardless how uncomfortable it makes you feel, we're all going to do that.
Yeah.
So,
totally
it's that learning and having that slightly different approach rather than let's get in and clang and bang and chest bump and, bro out for an hour and people leave and go, oh, I didn't really enjoy that at all. That's not what I needed today.
Yeah.
So, it's really cool. So what do you think? You've been around the CrossFit landscape, and as I said in the introduction, we've judged together at, feels like 1 million events now, and everything from judging and team leading and everything in between. And we've been around, both of us have been around the CrossFit landscape for quite some time. What do you think, from your perspective, is the biggest challenge facing affiliates in the current CrossFit landscape, do you think, compared to even as you've seen it evolve and grow?
So I suppose obviously the economy and everything else going on is going to be one, so obviously people are, going to be still put in those positions in the future coming, depending on how this country goes, essentially for that, One of the biggest things that does happen, I suppose, when things get really tight for people is generally health and fitness is the one that goes out the window because you've got to, maintain your life and do everything else from there. But for that, I think actually, like CrossFit as far as the type of training or the methodology of training, I think now has become a lot more acceptable and people are probably willing to, step inside the gym more than, the previous years. Like, my personal view, other people can disagree, but I think, is that, too much crap was put on social media about, like people doing dumb shit around what CrossFit is and everything and hashtagging CrossFit and everything else in it. Like, and then, the name was definitely associated with, well, this is actually unsafe. And if you do this, you will get injured versus, I suppose, the last several years where that change is now leading towards, we're making it more open to people. There's more stuff being put on social media of elderly clients or people with disabilities or whatever else, out there scaling a workout, doing something that realistically is more, it's more what real life is. Yeah. So the idea of getting, people into the gym and then making it safe for them. And when you say safe, you're not just talking about movement, you're actually talking about emotionally as well.
Yep.
So, and just making them feel comfortable that, hey, you know what? Yeah, this stuff's hard and it can be challenging, but we'll help you, along the way and we'll get you through a safe workout.
Yeah, so, and you'll grow along the way. I remember back when I first started, you'd see pictures of someone doing a pistol squat holding a barbell overhead on a top of a kettlebell. And you're like, wow, I'm never going to get to do that. Or, searching Instagram under the hashtag box jump fails. I don't recommend anyone does that because you'll never attempt to box jump again. It's like, why are you posting this, people? Why are you doing this?
Yes.
But, and I think too, the allied health space has changed a little bit. I used to, back in the day, the physios would be like, oh, CrossFit's are why my business stays running,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now they're more inclined to have their patients keep moving and form a relationship with their coach so that they can, help them move forward safely and rather than, oh yeah, CrossFit, that'll just kill you. Don't do anything, and even doctors freaking out about it has kind of eased off a little bit. But definitely hear you and agree about the financial status around the world. Like COVID's taken a big hit out of everything and now the world's kind of readjusting back, I guess, and money's tight and people are reassessing, even though as health professionals, we believe that this should be someone's top priority. But if it's a choice between us and paying the mortgage, they're going to choose the mortgage every day.
Yeah, I think, the main thing for people is, essentially if you are promoting your gym and you're like, it's still around the actual coaching and ongoing coaching that you're actually going to receive within a class, and selling that as that point of being that, it's not just a standard membership of a gym. You're not just paying money to come in and work out.
Yep.
You're paying money to come in and, receive programming, have that programming personalized to you. You're getting access to a great facility and a great community and, working through, building people up slowly over a longer period of time that allows them to, continue to exercise for the longevity. So,
we don't want members for 6 months. We want them for 6 to 10 years,
Absolutely.
being able to train consistently over that period, which is the biggest win.
Yeah.
So looking back on your coaching journey, how has something that has been almost an apparent failure or you feel like it was a failure, but how has that set you up then for later success? It's almost like, do you have a favorite failure, which when you look back on now goes, well, actually that enabled me to do X, Y, Z far better?
That's a great question. I suppose a couple of mine would probably lean more towards the personality trait and the individual discussions where, I recall with one member who's no longer with us, and that was part of the journey and process of learning around where I say that default behaviour of either trying to have a joke or being a little bit sarcastic or, egging on is where I actually, I said something to a client mid-workout, which I thought was, like I said, it wasn't meant to be hurtful or everything else. And then the person just looked around and just broke down, spoke to me and everything else very quickly. And then all of a sudden the membership's on hold. And then there's like a lot of hard work around, trying to keep a person re-engaged and everything. And then it just went through a transition where the person eventually stepped away from it. The positive was eventually we did bump into each other I was walking our dogs on the beach one day and I bumped into this person and we had a great chat and, from there, and I, basically came to the same level of understanding around the whole event. And, the person never came back, but I suppose what it was is that recognition that we were able to take the time to have a chat.
Yep.
And go from there, which then was, like I say, it was one of those mind shift events where my coaching then going forward had to improve from a, from a personal interaction space.
Yep.
And that probably took place, that was definitely before COVID. So, so in around mid to end of 2019, I'm probably thinking that did.
Yep.
For me. So, that was definitely one of the things that changed around my coaching.
And they can be really hard confronting moments. And it takes a lot, of internal, integrity, I guess, to stand up and go, put your hand up and go, yeah, well, actually, I handled that really, really shit. And that's, and I know even when I first started my coaching journey, I think back on things I may have said to a member during a workout. And I'm like, oh my God, did you really say that? Yeah. And you're like, and you reflect, and it does help you grow. But being able to put your hand on your heart and go, yep, I thought it was funny, wasn't funny, misread the room, and all you can do is try and work through that. And sometimes if the person's willing to engage with you and have a conversation, it'll turn out okay. Other times, it's just not meant to be. And, that's okay. Everyone can follow their own path, but it takes a big person to be able to put their hand on their chest and go, yep, okay, that was all me.
Yeah.
I completely buggered that up from the get-go.
Yeah, it's the old emotional bank account, like where you're putting a lot of time and effort in and you're building up building up the dollars in the bank with a person, and then, one interaction can essentially zero your balance out.
And it's funny how quickly it can happen. You think, I've got this solid relationship, and just something one day, and the next thing you get the email that they're cancelling. You're like, what the?
Yeah.
Where did that come from? And you have to really rack your brain and go, is it because I just said don't talk today because you're interrupting other people? I don't know. And it's really, it's like, how could I have phrased that differently? Did I do anything? Maybe, and not every time have we done something that could be better, but it's good to have that reflection and to learn from that for sure.
Yeah, we're funny humans, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. It's probably why we get along so well, Deka. We can take a bit of banter.
Yeah.
So being quite experienced and now being a full-time coach, what advice would you give to someone starting out on their coaching journey or having aspirations to coach? What's some key advice that you give them from your experience?
Firstly, I think you've really got to make sure that you have open and robust conversations with the affiliate owner. So if you're stepping in a position of like mine, as I said, working for Erin and Lindsay, there were some great conversations and some, like drawing the line in the sand immediately, even before starting coaching around, okay, what does this look like, or essentially, hours of work, what does it look like in a refractor remuneration, how are you going to make that work and everything from that. So, you can put a plan in place, and then along that way is then still making sure that you take time to, meet with the owners. And, essentially we went through a big period of tracking, either leads and then successful leads turned into memberships and then, memberships as far as how long they've been around for and everything from there. So, there's that side of it that actually has to come into it. The second side, I think, is really, then is the personal side, is being open and honest with yourself from the very beginning that you will make mistakes. You will say things that, inadvertently are either taken the wrong way or unintentionally offend people, even though your best interests are at heart. Like sometimes just one word in a sentence is all it needs to be.
Yep.
That, just has you on a path that sort of can interrupt your process. But otherwise, it's just really, like being committed to the process, recognizing, you're going to have great days, great weeks, great months, and then there'll be little bits where, things don't seem to be going okay. But I think, like there, if you're taking the time to sit and reflect and then go, okay, what do I need to do right now? Because otherwise you can get very quickly, I think, distracted on just like juggling balls in the air all the time from there. So you do definitely need those down days when you sort of stop, reassess how you're going and from there. And then lastly, I think, is honest conversations with the team. We're very lucky here at the gym. Obviously, we've got Erin, Lindsay, myself. Then there's, Jesse, who's recently got started, and another guy that's coming on board where we've got essentially 5 full-time coaches plus 3 part-timers. But, we sit down once a fortnight and we can have honest conversations with each other and, the feedback's an opportunity to learn rather than, hey, do better.
Yeah, taking it personally and just feeling attacked. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's good having that supportive team to have that. I know a lot of places don't, but that's one of the things is have people that you can rely on as mentors, that that you can have that honest conversation so that when they tell you you've done something good, that it's good. But when it's not so good, but they're also then going to help you fix it, not just say, hey, Deka, that was pretty shit class, and then walk away. It's like, how do we make this better together?
Yeah, look, I personally, even 5.5 years of coaching, within yourself, either A, could you have done something now differently at the end of that class if you felt that it didn't go on track?
Mm-hmm.
Or alternatively, again, how can you improve? We do simple things every now and again as, Aaron's pretty sneaky at it, but he doesn't. Is where he'll drop a phone or a video device in as you're like either going through the brief or the general warm-up, to make sure, hey, are we getting to everybody in the warm-up? Are we sort of, working on our cues as far as keeping them short? Whereas me, I'm a bit of an information giver at the time, which is I've got to learn to shut my mouth a little bit more every now and again and just go do this once and then move on.
Yep.
So there's lots of processes around that where, as a team that we help each other out.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Now, just before we wrap up, Deka, what I do ask every guest that we have on is, what is a go-to book that you would recommend to somebody? A favorite book, something that you recommend that's going to be helpful to somebody in their journey, either at coaching or their life journey or anything like that?
Well, that's a great question, considering I'm not much of a reader.
Do you listen, though, to the audible books?
The answer to that is no. And there's a number of obviously podcasts out and about that at times you sort of get into the habit of, listening to, with time. But otherwise, the books that I've sort of more read are essentially along either autobiographies or biographies of people, and I suppose this is where that military background thing comes into, people associate. So, there's all the number of the books that have been out there, whether it's the one on bed. I can't think of them off the top of my head. I know there's the Ann Middleton one that's out there at the moment. I've got halfway through that. So, that was that's a pretty good one as a start.
Yeah. I've listened to all his books and they're pretty good. You just stop you in your tracks sometimes listening to the ones from Ant, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I remember back, I was very lucky in the industry, people have read 7 Habits for Highly Effective People, whereas when I was in industry, I actually got to do the 5-day training course.
Oh, wow. Yeah, cool.
So back then, didn't have to read, which is great, but we still covered up all the key concepts. But the point with that was we got to sit in the group environment and obviously learn and actually understand those 7 steps. So,
oh yeah, wow, cool.
It was an awesome course way back then. So even that, I suppose you can take away, the 2 main points out of that, is begin with the end in mind, and then secondly is seek to understand before being understood. And I think that's probably the big thing as a coach is, sometimes when you're talking to people is make sure that, do they understand before you make your point of being for them to be understood by you. So
no, they're good recommendations, and definitely 7 Habits is a good one. I know back in the day I struggled to read it, and then I got it on an audio book and just absorbed it that way. So ones I struggle to read because it just can't get into it. Throw on an audio book while I'm driving in the car is always a good fix.
Yeah.
But it's been great to talk to you today, and great even for me in all the years I've known you, to learn a little bit more about your journey and your perspective and how you wound up. And I'm super excited to see you thriving at Ballina underneath Lindsay and Aaron. And, it's really exciting to see where this next part of the adventure and journey will take you, Deka. So thanks for your time today, mate. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks, Lise. Thanks for the opportunity too to catch up and have a chat, which was, good fun. And good luck with transitioning out of the affiliate where you are and, making a successful journey into, essentially assisting affiliate managers.
Yeah, well, we'll that seems to be the next stage, is to do some, help more people on a larger scale, I guess, is that opportunity. So that's cool. All right, mate.
Might even see you back on. Sorry, I was just going to say, might even see you back on the judging floor soon.
Oh, I don't know, mate. I think my days of judging are long gone. Depends on what they do with duck, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, pretty much the same. It was funny because just with the COVID just interrupting everything, just those flows of being going away every 12 months and catching up with people like yourself, and the other group of guys that we hang out with. It was,
they were really good. Sort of like we worked hard for those 3 or 4 days, but geez, they were good days. And, we solid people, like you had the odd difficult person, but our core group of judges, we're still all tight friends today, and such a good environment. And, the athletes were always, generally pretty awesome to deal with. You had the odd one or two, and we'd swap the war stories out the back. But it was just for me, like, I know that I worked really hard in those 4 or 5 days, but it felt like a holiday, away from the affiliate, and I could just be immersed in the community again and re-spark my love of CrossFit again. And, they were really good times. So hopefully we'll see some more back down in Wollongong and we can get amongst it again, mate. Get out the stopwatch, dust her off.
Too easy.
All right. Thanks, Deka.
Thanks for talking, mate. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Fit Affiliate Podcast. If this was helpful to you and you would like to jump on a 1-hour call to solve one problem for free, click the link.